everything you need to know about the orcs. Are you ready to dive into the dark, twisted, and thrilling world of one of fantasy's most fearsome creatures? Welcome back to Realms Revealed, your ultimate guide to all things mythical and magical. Today, we're venturing into the rugged territories of the orcs. These brutal warriors have stormed through countless realms, leaving a trail of destruction and legend in their wake. From their origins in ancient folklore to their evolution in modern fantasy, we'll uncover the secrets of their savage strength, cunning tactics, and complex societies. Whether you're a die-hard fan of Tolkien's Middle-earth or a gamer battling hordes of orcs in your favorite RPG, this deep dive will give you everything you need to know about these iconic creatures. So, grab your gear and join us as we explore the fascinating and ferocious world of orcs. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic lore adventures. Orcs, often portrayed as the embodiment of evil and darkness, play a significant role in the epic tales of Middle-earth. These creatures are known for their savage nature, brutal tactics, and unwavering loyalty to their dark masters. Throughout Tolkien's works, orcs are depicted as the primary soldiers of the Dark Lords, Morgoth and Sauron, participating in the most significant battles against the free peoples of Middle-earth. Despite their notorious reputation, the origins and nature of orcs are shrouded in complexity and philosophical questions. Understanding the full scope of who orcs are, where they come from, and what happens to them adds depth to the broader narrative of Middle-earth. The origins of the orcs. The origin of orcs is a subject of considerable debate and evolution within Tolkien's writings. Initially, orcs were conceived as corrupted elves, twisted and perverted by Morgoth, the first Dark Lord. This theory, prominently featured in the Silmarillion, suggests that Morgoth captured some of the first elves, and through torture and dark sorcery, transformed them into orcs. This origin story presents a tragic view of orcs as beings whose inherent potential for good was twisted into evil. As Tolkien writes, all those of the Quendi who came into the hands of Melkor were put there in prison, and by slow arts of cruelty were corrupted and enslaved. However, Tolkien struggled with the moral and philosophical implications of this idea. If orcs were once elves, they were essentially victims of Morgoth's cruelty, robbed of their free will, and forced into a life of servitude. This concept challenges the justification for the wholesale slaughter of orcs by the forces of good. In his later writings, Tolkien explored alternative origins for orcs. In The History of Middle-earth, different possibilities are proposed, including the idea that orcs were bred from men or even lesser spirits bound to physical forms. These variations mitigate some of the moral issues associated with the initial origin story, suggesting that not all orcs were once innocent elves. Tolkien muses, orcs were not made by Melkor. They had life and multiplied after the manner of the children of Ilúvatar. The differences between goblins, orcs, and uruk-hai, goblins. The term goblin is used interchangeably with orc in Tolkien's works, particularly in The Hobbit. Goblins are depicted as cruel, wicked, and cunning creatures, capable of crafting clever devices and weapons. They inhabit the dark places of Middle-earth, such as the Misty Mountains, where they mine and tunnel, often enslaving other races to work for them. In The Hobbit, the goblins of the Misty Mountains capture Bilbo Baggins and the dwarves, showcasing their ingenuity and malevolence. Tolkien describes them as cruel, wicked, and bad-hearted. Despite their fearsome reputation, goblins are fundamentally the same as orcs, with the difference in terminology largely a matter of context and setting within Tolkien's broader mythology. Goblins tend to be associated with the smaller, more cunning and crafty types of orcs, often involved in mining and mechanical work. Orcs. Standard orcs are the most common and recognizable form of these creatures. They are generally depicted as smaller than elves and men, with long arms, fanged mouths, and grotesque appearances. These orcs are typically cruel, violent, and skilled in the arts of war and torture. In the Silmarillion, it is stated that Morgoth bred them in the vast vaults and dungeons of Angband, where they multiplied in the darkness. Standard orcs play a significant role in the armies of both Morgoth and Sauron, serving as foot soldiers in their campaigns of conquest and terror. Their loyalty is enforced through fear and brutality, as they are often depicted as hating their masters, but fearing them too much to rebel. As described, their hearts were of granite, their bodies deformed, they were strong and hideous. Uruk-hai are a more advanced and formidable breed of orcs, first introduced by Sauron and later perfected by Saruman. They are larger, stronger, and more intelligent than standard orcs, and they possess the significant advantage of being able to withstand sunlight. This adaptation allows them to move and fight more effectively than their Sun-averse kin. The uruk-hai are prominently featured in The Lord of the Rings, particularly in the service of Saruman. They are depicted as fierce warriors, capable of challenging even the bravest of men and elves. Their creation represents an attempt by the Dark Lords to improve upon the original orc design, making them more formidable opponents in their wars against the free peoples of Middle-earth. They were larger and more cunning than ordinary orcs, and they could endure the sunlight. Are there any good orcs? One of the most intriguing philosophical questions in Tolkien's works is whether orcs are capable of goodness or redemption. Given their origins as corrupted beings, the notion of good orcs challenges the simplistic dichotomy of good versus evil that often defines fantasy literature. In Tolkien's writings, there is little evidence to suggest that orcs can be good in the traditional sense. They are typically depicted as inherently malevolent, driven by a deep-seated hatred for all things beautiful and good. Their creation by Morgoth imbues them with a nature that is fundamentally opposed to the values of the free peoples. As stated in The Two Towers, the orcs were restless and savage. It was well that there were few of them. However, Tolkien's letters and later writings reveal his discomfort with the idea of any race being wholly evil without the possibility of redemption. He pondered whether orcs, as sentient beings, might possess some capacity for change, however limited. This idea is not explicitly explored in the main texts, but it suggests a more nuanced view of orcs as tragic figures, victims of their own corrupted nature. Tolkien wrote, "Since Melkor could not create sentient beings, but only corrupt or pervert them, it seems clear that orcs were at one time capable of being redeemed." How do orcs breed? The breeding of orcs is another topic that Tolkien revisited multiple times, with varying explanations throughout his works. In the Silmarillion, it is implied that orcs, like elves and men, reproduce sexually. Morgoth's ability to breed orcs in large numbers suggests a method of rapid propagation, essential for maintaining his armies. Tolkien's later writings, however, delve into more complex and disturbing methods of orc breeding. In Morgoth's Ring, part of the History of Middle-earth series, Tolkien suggests that orcs might be bred through dark sorcery and unnatural means, possibly involving the interbreeding of captured elves and men with other creatures. This idea highlights the perverse nature of Morgoth's experiments and the abominable lengths to which he would go to create his servants. As Tolkien elaborates, there must have been corruptions and perversions of what was already living, beings made by the valor, but changed by the power of evil. Saruman's breeding of the uruk-hai introduces another dimension to the discussion. In The Lord of the Rings, it is suggested that Saruman used a combination of orcs and men to create these superior warriors. This hybridization process indicates a more scientific approach to breeding, involving selective breeding and possibly magical enhancement. As mentioned in the books, Saruman had begun to breed uruk-hai, large black orcs of great strength and fighting power. Are Gundabad orcs better than normal orcs? The orcs of Mount Gundabad hold a special place in the hierarchy of orc kind. Gundabad, a key stronghold for orcs, especially in the northern regions of Middle-earth, is considered a significant site in Orcish history and culture. These orcs are often depicted as being more formidable than their southern counterparts, both in terms of their physical prowess and their strategic importance. Gundabad orcs are known for their strength, resilience, and combat skills. Their harsh environment and constant warfare have honed them into some of the toughest warriors among the orcs. In The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, Gundabad orcs are portrayed as elite soldiers, capable of leading and organizing large-scale attacks against their enemies. As described, the orcs of Gundabad were a fierce and strong breed, capable of great endurance and relentless in battle. The strategic importance of Mount Gundabad also enhances the status of its orcs. As a central hub for orc activity in the northern regions, it serves as a gathering place and a base for launching raids and campaigns. This centrality in the Orcish network gives Gundabad orcs access to better resources, training, and leadership, further elevating their status above that of typical orcs. Gundabad was the capital of the orcs of the Misty Mountains, and from there they commanded the northern regions. What happened to the orcs and Mordor? After the fall of Sauron, the defeat of Sauron at the end of The Lord of the Rings marked a significant turning point for the Orcs and their future in Middle-earth. With the destruction of the One Ring and the fall of Sauron, the central leadership and unifying force behind the Orcs was shattered. This led to a period of chaos and fragmentation among the surviving Orcs. In the immediate aftermath of Sauron's fall, many Orcs were killed or scattered. The Free Peoples, now united and victorious, took measures to cleanse Middle-earth of the remnants of Sauron's forces. This included hunting down and destroying Orcish strongholds and remnants of Sauron's armies. As noted in The Return of the King, the realm of Sauron was ended forever, and the Orcs fled in terror, scattered and leaderless. However, some Orcs likely survived, retreating into the deepest and darkest corners of Middle-earth. Without Sauron's unifying presence, these Orcs would have reverted to their tribal and fractious ways, fighting among themselves for dominance and survival. The loss of centralized leadership and the relentless pursuit by the Free Peoples would have significantly diminished their numbers and influence. Without Sauron's will to drive them, the Orcs fought each other, and many were slain. Mordor itself, the dark realm that had been the center of Sauron's power, underwent a transformation. With the fall of Barad-dûr and the scattering of Sauron's forces, Mordor was left largely desolate. The land, once teeming with Orcs and other dark creatures, became a symbol of the past evil that had plagued Middle-earth. The Free Peoples likely took steps to ensure that Mordor could never again serve as a base for evil, further diminishing the Orcs' chances of resurgence. Mordor was left in ruins, and the evil that had dwelt there was driven out. Despite the fall of their master and the collapse of their strongholds, the legacy of the Orcs remains a dark shadow over the history of Middle-earth. Their existence, bred from corruption and malice, serves as a reminder of the enduring presence of evil and the ongoing struggle between good and evil in Tolkien's world. Orcs, as creatures of darkness, are integral to the mythology of Middle-earth. Their origins, development, and various types contribute to the rich tapestry of Tolkien's world, offering insights into the nature of evil and the struggle between good and evil. The philosophical and ethical considerations surrounding Orcs add depth to their characterization, challenging readers to think critically about morality and justice. In literature and film, Orcs continue to captivate audiences with their fearsome presence and complex origins. Whether as victims of corruption or embodiments of malevolence, Orcs remain a compelling and essential part of the enduring legacy of Middle-earth. Their story, fraught with tragedy and complexity, invites readers to explore the deeper themes of Tolkien's work and reflect on the nature of evil and redemption. We hope you enjoyed uncovering the fascinating history, unique culture, and untamed ferocity of these legendary beings. If you loved this adventure, don't forget to smash that like button and share it with your fellow fantasy enthusiasts. Have your own thoughts or theories about Orcs? Drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And hey, if you want to keep exploring the realms of fantasy and lore with us, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an epic tale. From mystical creatures to ancient legends, we've got a treasure trove of content waiting for you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your swords sharp and your imaginations sharper. Stay curious, adventurers.